Now it's already 2 o'clock, so thank you everyone for joining. Welcome to our webinar for applicants. And this webinar is for International Master Program, and thank you for joining with us today. So before we start, I would like to introduce myself a little bit. I'm Xingyi, you can also call me Eva, and now I'm a second-year master's student in changing education. And at the same time, I also work as a trainee in University of Helsinki. Yep, so for this webinar, we have some common rules for the webinar. So if you have any questions regarding to the admission service, you are welcome to ask questions, to type your questions in the Q&A section in the Zoom. And our university staff are also with us today, and they will answer your questions in the Q&A tool. Yep, and be aware that your questions can also be viewed by all the participants in the webinar. And this webinar is held by University of Helsinki. So we committed to promote equality and preventing discrimination and any kind of harassment in all its operation. So we follow the safe space policy. So let's keep this webinar environment safe for all the participants. Okay, so the agenda for today, the webinar is focusing on our 33 international master programs. So which applicants period is start from January 2nd to 16, 2026. And today we will go through 3 sections. The first one is the admissions. We will overview of the application process, timelines, and tips. And we have a topic about the resident permits and the financial for student life in Helsinki. And the last part is student sharing experience about student life in Helsinki. Yeah, so before we jump in the admission part, I would like to have some numbers, the facts about university to share at this point. Okay, so University of Helsinki is the oldest university in Finland. It's founded in 1640, and we are ranking among the top 1% of the world's research university. And we are also one of the biggest with over, this year, we have like 32,000 degree students with about 2,800 international students. Yeah, and we are also a multidisciplinary university with 11 faculties and 4 campuses. Yes, and also there are diverse educational offerings for international students. At bachelor's and master levels, we have programs in Finnish, Swedish, and English. And all of our doctoral programs are in English, as well as 2 bachelor's programs and also 33 international master program are in English. And just to remind again, today's webinar is focused on this 33 English program. Yep, okay, so after this, I would like to jump into the application process of the University of Helsinki. And this part, I will invite Jani from Admission Service to share the slides. Jani, are you ready?
Thanks, Eva.
Yes, so I'll stop the sharing here.
And I'll switch over to mine. Is it looking good? Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Jani. I'm from the Admission Services, and I am here to guide you through the application process, timelines, and some tips regarding the application process as Eva introduced me. So let's go. First of all, this is sort of the entire application process and timeline condensed for you. Now we are already in December, and at this point, you should be preparing for your application, so gathering documents that you need, and if needed, take the language test to get the test score in time. And remember that it might take longer than you expect to get the test results. Then in January, you should submit the application before the deadline on January 16th at 3 p.m. or 1500 hours UTC plus 2. So everything is in Finnish time, local Finnish time. You need to pay the application fee after submitting the application or upload document that proves that you are exempted from paying the application fee when submitting the application. The deadline for submitting or uploading any application documents is on January 23rd, also at 3 p.m. Then during February and March, you can just sit back and relax and wait patiently while we evaluate your eligibility and authenticity of the application attachments. And all the eligible applications are then sent for academic evaluation to the programs. This is also the time when interviews take place for those programs that use interviews as part of the admission process. The admission results will be published between the 1st and 15th of April, and you will receive your admission results by email during that time. So keep checking the same email that you used when applying. Then in May, there is a potential important deadline for applicants that were admitted conditionally because you had submitted uncertified documents during the application process, which is completely fine. They don't have to be certified when you apply. But if your previous degrees were already complete at the time of applying, then you have to submit the certified documents by 29th of May, or unfortunately, you will lose the offered study place. In July, on 9th of July is the final deadline for accepting the offer that we sent to you. And if you miss this deadline, then again, unfortunately, you will lose the offered study place. And then in case you applied with an incomplete degree, so your bachelor's degree was still in progress at the time of applying, at the end of August, you need to submit the certified documents as well as the proof of the awarded degree, so degree certificate or other official document that confirms the award of the degree. Also, if you are liable to pay tuition fees, they must be paid at the end of August, and you also need to register for the academic year by the end of August. So these are important deadlines and dates to remember. Few words about the application fee that I mentioned. There is an application fee of 100 euros for applicants who are not citizens of EU or EEA countries or Switzerland. The fee is also not collected from applicants who have one of these listed residence permit cards or other or meet the other categories listed here. I will not go through them in detail, but in our National Study Info application portal, and link will be later, you can find more information about all these categories. This is a one-time national fee that covers all applications to studies beginning in the same academic term. So you are applying to start in the fall 26 academic term. If you paid when applying to us, you can apply to other programs or universities with the same payment as long as they start in the same academic term of fall 26. And reversely, if you paid it already when applying to another university for studies that begin in fall of 26, you don't have to pay it again when applying to our program. This must be paid after submitting the application, or you must upload documents that prove the selected exemption category in order for your application to be processed. If you don't provide the document or pay the payment, your application will be cancelled. And please make sure to give correct information about the fee exemption categories, and only select the exempting categories if you have the document that proves that exemption. Giving incorrect information here leads to your application not being processed, so please be careful here. Moving on to tips on the application process. So where can things go wrong? So these are things that we have noticed over the years that can cause the application to go wrong, unfortunately, and we want to avoid that. So there are things that can prevent your application from reaching the evaluation or scoring stage in the application process. So first of all, your previous education must give eligibility to apply to master's level studies. And this generally means your bachelor's degree. So if you have something under the bachelor level, for example, a higher national diploma or other similar qualifications, you are not eligible to apply to our master's level studies. So please make sure you apply you have your bachelor's degree, and then in addition to that, you may have other qualifications that you can add to the application. You must upload all the required application attachments as required by the application form that cover your educational background by the deadline. And you must also meet the language proficiency requirement according to the application instructions. If these are not covered, then unfortunately the application will not be scored. But then there are some factors that can have a negative effect on your chances in the scoring stage. These can be, for example, the fact that your previous education does not match with the program that you are applying to, and more on that later. You might also be trying to rely on factors that are not scored according to the program-specific application criteria. We have specific criteria, and nothing that is mentioned in the criteria can affect the scoring. So check the criteria and only focus on those. Also, if you let, this is becoming more and more common, if you let AI, such as ChatGPT and similar, to write all your answers for you, instead of you yourself writing personalized and well thought out answers that help you stand out among applicants, it can be easy to spot, and it will have a negative effect on your application. More on submitting the documents. So upload copies of your educational documents to the application form. They must be taken from your official educational documents, but it can be a scan or a photo as long as it's legible. So don't have to worry about officially certified documents at the application phase. The documents must cover your entire education, so don't leave out years or parts from the documentation. And if they are not in English, Finnish, or Swedish, which are our working languages, then you must also submit translations. And all the documents must be uploaded by the deadline, which is again on the 23rd of January. But please try to submit everything as early as possible. And remember that you yourself are responsible for uploading the required documents by the deadline. Even if you are working, for example, with one of our partnered educational agents, you ultimately are responsible for your own application. Then on meeting the language proficiency requirement, there are many ways to meet the language proficiency requirements. Most commonly, the standardized language tests such as TOEFL, IELTS Academic, etc. And we also accept the online versions of these tests. The scores must be valid until the end of the application supplementation period, so the 23rd of January. And unfortunately, if your score expires before that date, then it cannot be used in the application process. Even if it's, for example, on the 22nd of January that it expires, we cannot accept it. Our application system will not accept it. You can also use previous education, university education taught in English from certain countries, and these countries are listed on our website in the application instructions. You can only meet the requirements with methods that are listed in the application instructions. So language tests or methods that are not listed are not accepted. For example, Duolingo English test, we get a lot of questions. It is not accepted, unfortunately, at this stage. Expired language test results are also not accepted, and degrees taught in English from countries that are not on our list are also not accepted. Then we recommend that you apply as early as possible and submit the documents as early as possible. And if you have any questions, reach out as early as possible as well. We receive thousands of applications throughout the application period, so please do not wait until the deadline before applying or submitting the documents. And also make sure you have plenty of time to fill out the application form. Some programs have dozens of questions, and it can take up to an hour or even longer for you to carefully fill out the application form. So highly recommend that you do not leave it to the final minutes. We also receive thousands of emails and chat queries during the application period. So the earlier you contact us, the likelier it is that we can reply to you before the deadlines. And our admission advisors, who are here answering to your Q&A questions already, can help you, but only if you reach out and ask. So ask for help as early as possible and try to be as specific as possible to give us a better chance of helping you. Then on meeting the program with your previous education, admission to our programs is mainly based on your previous education. So consider whether your background is suitable for the program. It is very, very difficult to be admitted to our programs with degrees that are from completely different fields. And you must have some previous studies in the field of the program to have a chance of success. So our master's programs are not starting points in their fields. You must have previous experience already, previous university studies already. You can check the program descriptions and requirements on our websites and also in the National Application Portal study info. The evaluation of the applications is based on the published admission criteria. And the program's admission criteria list all the factors that are considered in the evaluation. So make sure you have all the required documents for the program that you are applying to. They might have program-specific attachment requirements. Make sure you have those documents. And also answer all the questions carefully on the application form, as this will affect the evaluation of your application. And again, well thought out, personalized replies to questions about your motivation, for example, give you a better chance than, for example, relying on AI to write your answers for you. And no other factors are considered in the evaluation besides those listed in the admission criteria. You cannot enhance your chances of admission with factors that are outside of the admission criteria. For example, unless there is a required CV or a recommendation letter in the program's admission criteria, you should not submit one. It will not benefit your application, and it will, in fact, only slow down the processing of your application, as we need to remove it from the consideration. So please only send the documents that are required, and do not try to rely on sort of outside factors. Then I want to say a few words about the conditional offer of admission. Once again, this is a spot where things can go wrong, and we want to avoid that. So if you applied with uncertified copies of your educational documents, which is completely fine in the application process, again, you need to submit those documents as officially certified electronic documents or officially certified hard copies by a deadline that depends on whether your degree was already complete or incomplete when you applied. So if the previous degree was complete when you applied, 29th of May is the deadline. If your degree was still in progress, then 31st of August is the deadline. And if you do not submit those officially certified documents by the deadline that matches your admission or your situation, it will lead to the cancellation of the conditional offer. Also, if you applied with an incomplete previous degree, you must graduate and submit proof of the awarded degree by the end of August, 31st of August. And again, not submitting proof of the awarded degree leads to the cancellation of the conditional offer. And finally, here are some important websites with important information. I've mentioned the National Application Portal Study Info, where you will find, you can search for programs, ours and others in Finland, and apply. And this is where you submit the application. This is where you can find the application criteria for each program and much more information about application and tuition fees in Finland. On the other side, there are the University of Helsinki websites where you can explore the structure and descriptions of our master's programs, have detailed how to apply instructions, document language proficiency requirements, more information about our tuition fee waivers and tuition fees at the university. You can contact our admission advisors. You can find lists of the agents with international agents with official partnerships with the University of Helsinki, and much more about our university and our programs. And with that, thank you for your patience and attention, and best of luck with your applications. And I hope that you get to see our beautiful university main building here in the background soon in person yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Yanni. Thank you for the clear guidance for the admission process. And I hope all of you with great passions can have a successful application process in the upcoming year. And I want to mention that this webinar is recording, so all the registrants will receive the recording and the presentation with all the links that mentioned today in a couple of days. So no worries at all. Okay, so next up, Rita from International Student Advice will talk about the resident permits and student budgeting as the students in Helsinki. Yes, so Rita, you can take over.
Thank you, Eva. Let me just make this full screen.
Yes, great.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Rita, and I am an international student myself. I'm a second-year master's student in the Master Program of Contemporary Society, and I'm also working for International Student Advice. We are a team that is dedicated to international degree student service, and I'm here to speak about one of the most pressing and deeply concerned issues, which is residence permit and the financial matters, or to say the big money question, and how much does it cost to study here, and the reality of budgeting and financing your studies. So today I will start with the possible residence permit challenges, followed by an overview of the financial situation as a student in Finland, and then move on to a quick introduction of how much money you would need to live here, and then some financial suggestions coming from us. And then finally, some university services and more information on this topic if you're interested. And throughout the time, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the Q&A sessions. So, about the residence permit, it is very important for everyone to note that the residence permit can take a long time. And although the immigration service states that the processing time is 90 days, in reality, it can sometimes take longer. So we will really strongly suggest that everyone start their residence permit process as soon as possible, ideally immediately after being accepted. And if your nationality is in one of the following countries, there is very, very unfortunately a bigger chance that your residence permit may be delayed due to a variety of factors. such as limited appointment availability or geographical challenges or loan processing times. And in recent years, we have sadly seen many students from these countries unable to arrive in Finland and begin their studies on time, which has meant that they had to defer their studies for a full year. And as university services, we truly feel for the students who have faced these difficulties, and we sincerely hope that this will not be the case for you. However, the residence permit decisions and timelines are unfortunately outside of the university's control or influence. And so we want the applicants from these countries to be fully aware of this possibility and to take it into considerations when you are planning on applying. And good suggestions will be start to read about the residence permit application and prepare the documents very well in advance and try to submit your residence permit application immediately after being accepted. And then now let's move on to the harsh financial reality in Finland. And first of all, it is very important to note that everyone has to be prepared to finance your own studies without counting on grants or scholarships. The only major scholarship that the University of Helsinki offers is a tuition fee waiver, and it is only offered to tuition fee liable students. And the amount of scholarship offered is also very limited. And the only chance to apply is at the start of your master's studies, along with your master's application. This is to say that if you get admitted without a tuition fee waiver, there is no way to appeal this decision or try to apply for it again in the middle of your studies. And besides the tuition fee waiver, the university does not provide any other major scholarships that, for example, cover your living expenses. And there is also no financial aid or emergency funding. There are some small grants that are available for attending students, but they are usually of very small amount and only one-time payment, so it's not sufficient to cover living costs long term. There is also no governmental financial support for international students, and finding work here can be quite difficult, especially without Finnish or Swedish language skills. And as we work with international students a lot, it really breaks our heart to see sometimes that financial stress may lead to mental health challenges. And in the worst case scenario, some students even had to give up their studies to go back to their home country because they can't support themselves anymore. And this is something that we're definitely very sad to see and wish to avoid it from happening again in the future. And then you might ask, how much money do you need to support yourself? Well, Migri, which is the Finnish immigration service from which you apply your residence permit from, would demand an applicant to have 800 euros a month or 9,600 a year. But in reality, it can cost more to live in the capital area. For example, the accommodation will take around 400 to 800 euros a month with a transportation ticket and the monthly bills of phone bills, grocery, and other essentials, which can come up to also 300 to 450 euros a month. It can all add up to 1,000 or 1,300 euros per month or more. Besides that, the initial period can be costly too. For example, the application fee, the residence permit application fee, the health insurance, the flight tickets, and most degree students will get an apartment that is unfurnished, which means that you also have to get the furnitures yourself and getting all the living essentials, and all of this can be quite costly. And if you want, in the slides that we will send to everyone after, you can follow this link to read a bit more about the cost of living and the financial matters. And then we will strongly suggest you to come to Finland prepared. The best scenario is to have enough funds or a solid financial plan to support yourself, ideally for 2 years that cover the entire your master's studies. And this is especially for students who consider moving here with their spouses and family. Please be extra mindful of this situation. Managing studies and finances, for one, can be challenging already. And if you have family duties and having to provide for a whole family while studying, it can be even more difficult. And please do not trust that you will definitely find work here to sustain yourself. There's no guarantee. We really wish that we can say that finding a job here for immigrants is as easy as breathe, but we must tell the truth, unfortunately. And yes, that must be quite depressing. And if we're moving on to a more positive note, that finding a job is hard, but it's definitely not impossible. And there is help and support from the university. For example, there is International Student Advice, which is the team that I'm from. We provide general support to all the international degree students, and we're here for any problems that the degree students might have, and financial struggles can come to us too, and our whole team will do our best to help. And also, career services of the university is will support you in polishing your CV and how to find a job in Finland. They provide very good career counseling and guidance on traineeship. And there is also a traineeship program for international master students every year, along with other career programs and events such as job fairs, Unitalent, and Career Day, etc. And later in the year, around May, we and the career services will host a specific financing your studies webinar for the admitted students. And this session will be focused more on the how of finding a job, which include how to find a part-time work in Finland and real international students' experiences of looking for and securing work, and also the importance of creating networks. And that is all from my side today. I truly hope that this hasn't felt discouraging. We will genuinely love to have all of you here, but our goal here is simply to be completely honest about the residence permit and the financial realities. The last thing that we want to see is for anyone to arrive with the expectations that securing a job is easy. Unfortunately, in the current economy, that this is not the case. And we've seen how financial stress and delays with resident permits can affect students' studies and also mental well-being. And the students' well-being has always been our top priority. And that's why we want everyone to have a clear and realistic understanding of the situation. And we also strongly recommend doing your own research before making the decision to move to Finland. And yes, that's all for my part today. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Rita, for bringing up the reality side of being a student in Helsinki, right? And I was at finance. This topic can be like a very heavy topic to talk about, but planning ahead really makes a difference. And once the finance part is settled and also the resident permit is settled, the student life in Helsinki is quite excited, actually. Yeah, so we will move on to our last section today, the student experience in university. So let me share my slides a little bit. Yep, okay. So now you can see the full screens. So we will move on to the last part, the insight into student life in Helsinki. Yep, and so we will have me as a current student and also Rita, and we have Annika, current students to share experience. So Annika, can I ask you to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, hi. So I'm Annika. I'm a second-year master's student in the Environmental Change and Global Sustainability program, and I'm originally from Berkeley, California, in the United States.
Yep, thank you. So can I ask you, like, what motivated you to study abroad, and like what makes you to choose your program? I think you haven't mentioned.
Yeah, so I was curious to study abroad after completing my bachelor's because I wanted to see kind of how education differs in different places. And then when I read about this program, I thought that it was really aligned with my interests, and especially with Finland and Helsinki being at the forefront of sustainability, I thought that this would be the perfect program. And just overall, I think the university values align with what I was interested in. So I think that's definitely why I applied and chose this program.
Yes, okay. Thank you for joining the discussion with us. Yep. So in these sections, we have like 3 little topics to talk about, and Rita and Annika will share their experience. Yeah. So the first one is about the housing in Helsinki. So Rita have bring up it a little bit about the finance part. And I would like to mention that the University of Helsinki does not provide student accommodation itself. So it's not like a American style dormitory, and instead is offered by the Foundation for Student Housing in the Helsinki regions. So, for example, the biggest one is HOAS, HOAS, as you can see on the screen. So it's like you can apply directly, but it's not applied to apply for the university itself. Yeah, and beside HOAS, there's also other options. For example, like Unihome or even from the private marketing. So there are plenty of options, I would say, for housing. And for the rent, it depends on the type and the location of the housing. So generally, a room in a shared apartment will be around 300 to 600, and a studio, if you live alone in a studio, is typically 500 to 800. So it's quite like the range may be so different. And when we talk about the type of housing, it can be different. For example, is it furnished or is unfurnished? Or is a shared apartment with your roommate? Or you live alone in a studio apartment, a 2-room apartment, or you come with your family? A family apartment is also available. And is it student housing, or you try to find one in a private housing market? This can all cause the rent differences. Yeah. And on the right side, you can see there are 2 photos. These photos are from HOAS. And the upper one, you can see there are bed and table and desk. So which means that this one is a furnished one. And I assume that this one is a shared apartment because you cannot find a kitchen inside. So which means you will share the kitchen and shower room, bathroom with your roommate. And the lower pictures, as you can see, is a huge empty space. I assume that it's an unfurnished one. So you have to find your own furniture after you move in, but you can have your own private kitchens, and also you can see the fridge here and your own shower place. Yeah, so I think there are quite many options, and the rent will be different depend on it. Yep, so today we have Rita living in the HOAS apartment and Annika living in the private housing. Yeah, so maybe I can ask Rita to share first about like what kind of housing do you have and how is the neighborhood like?
Sure. So yes, I do live with HOAS, which is the student housing organization, and I live in a room in a shared apartment with 1 roommate. And luckily, my rent is very affordable. It's about €300 a month, and my area is also very calm and quiet, and it's very typical Finnish residential neighborhoods where people are quite kept to themselves. And my experience with HOA's apartment has been quite smooth so far. The apartment is in good condition, and if anything breaks, HOA's maintenance usually fixes it quite quickly and efficiently. The only challenges that I have is the laundry situation, as there are no private laundry machines in the apartment. We have to use the public one, and sometimes the reservation system can be a nightmare. But other than that, it is all very good. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I can relate it. I personally live in Unihome, which is not from HOAS, but I think it's very like alike as you said, as you mentioned here. Yeah, okay. And how about Annika in the private housing? Like what kind of housing is it? And do you like your neighborhood?
Yeah, so I live in a studio apartment in the Kruunuhaka neighborhood, and I really love it here. It's very calm, it's right by the sea, it's a super pretty area, definitely to live. I would say finding a private apartment was definitely a bit harder than the application for HOAs or uni homes. That's definitely something important to keep in mind if you're looking for a private apartment. And then I would also say that I had some trouble in the beginning as there's a few people who won't be as willing to rent to an international student, especially considering if you have no like credit or any history in Finland, they just might be a little bit more wary of it. So it's good to keep in mind that if you're looking for private housing, to start looking pretty early in advance.
Okay, thank you for bringing up this. And how about Rita in Hovas? Is it very challenges to have accommodations, or is it quite easy in the apply process?
Well, before I came to Finland, all students are advised to apply for student housing as soon as possible. So I received my admission letter in April and then submitted my HOAS apartment application around June. And then only about a month later, like in July, I got a housing offer. And so for me, the process was quite straightforward. I didn't have to do any of the stressful house hunting. I fill out an application, I waited for a month, and then I accepted the offer. And on the first day of my lease on September 1st, I moved in. It was quite smooth and straightforward for me, fortunately.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I feel like I also have the same experience. I think for now, student housing, it's actually quite straightforward for the apply process, but I mean, for everything, just start as soon as possible once you get the admissions. Yep, okay. So move on to the second topic today, about being a student, about the academic environments in University of Helsinki. So first of all, we have 4 campuses of 4 different faculties in University of Helsinki. So you can see on the simple map on the right side. So we have City Center, Meliatti, Kampula, and Viki campus. So because the public transportation in Helsinki is actually quite nice. So it's normal that people take different courses from the different faculty in different campuses. So for example, from city center to Wiki campus, it may seems a little bit far, but actually it takes bus. It's only about 30 minutes and you can go to a different campus. So I think it's quite convenient. And all the campus have its own library service. So here you can see the pictures on the upper side. This one is the Kampula library. So all of the library have free study place, and it's quite nice as you can see. And you can also book the study room for yourself with your friends and borrow the ICT and even the free study material. Yeah, so I think the library service is very nice in our university. And all the campus have its own student restaurant. And the brand, we call it Uni Cafe, and it provides affordable, high quality student meal. And it's usually around like €3, and you can have a great lunch. And we have Unisport, a workout place with the student benefits, and the student unions that offer lots of extracurricular activities and services. Yep, so in this part, I would like to ask maybe Annika can share a little bit about how would you describe the academic environment in University of Helsinki?
Yeah, I would say that it's very open, it's very collaborative, and there's kind of a lot of room for discussion, which is super nice. So that's how I would describe it.
Yeah, and do you like to introduce the pictures you show on the slides?
Yeah, so starting from the left, so that's a photo from one of the field classes that I took. So in my program, we have quite a few different field classes that allow you to go outside. And so in that specific photo, I was digging a hole to set a beetle trap, which then we did a bunch of scientific analyses on, and it was super interesting. And then in the next photo, you can see actually us counting and analyzing the amount of beetles. So I want to say we actually collected like 1,000 beetles, so a
Yes.
lot to sort through. And then the photo on the right is from a student event called an opera, where you go to different restaurants or different bars, and then you collect stamps by either getting a food item, non-alcoholic, or alcoholic beverage. And then at the end, if you collect enough stamps, you get a patch for your overalls.
Yes. Okay. Cute story. Thank you for sharing with us. And okay, so beside academic environments, can I ask like what do you usually do in your free time as a student? Is there any student life you want to share with us today?
Yeah, I would say that I definitely love all of the student life that the university has and Helsinki has in general. I would say that I've attended quite a few of the international student events. So I know especially ESN, the Exchange Student Network, they have a lot of events for people who have just moved to Finland, which is great. So it kind of helps you get involved in the culture. And I feel like it's a really great and easy way to meet people.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with this. I feel like the student culture in university is quite unique that I have never experienced before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And can I ask you, like, was there anything that surprised you about study in University of Helsinki?
Yeah, I think that I was definitely surprised by how small some of the classes can be. I know that in my bachelor's, I took classes with over 1,000 people. And
Yeah,
so coming here and having classes that have maybe 15 students in them was a huge surprise for me. So I found that to be a very positive experience.
yeah. So you can have more collaborations, experience with others.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for sharing with us. Okay, so we'll move to the last topic here. As an international students, because Rita, Annika, and also me myself, we are all international students. Yeah, so I would like to ask maybe Rita first, like what do you enjoy most about living in Helsinki?
Well, I think what I enjoy the most is definitely how organized everything is and just how well things work here. For example, our public transport is very punctual and it's very well structured, and there's free housing and there's very, very little homelessness, and there's also free healthcare for students. And safety is also a very big part of it. I've never once felt unsafe in Helsinki, even, for example, when I'm walking home late at night in situations that would make me much more alert in any other countries. And I've never felt that even once in Helsinki. So, yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's really a lot. Yeah, I will agree with you a lot. Okay, how about Annika? Do you like to live in Helsinki?
Yeah, I would say that I have loved it. And definitely, I would say one of my highlights is the public transportation here. As someone coming from the US, a place with very subpar public transportation, I was so surprised by how great the public transportation is here, how safe it is, how clean, how reliable. And then I would also say one of my favorite things about Helsinki and Finland in general is just the access to nature everywhere is super nice. And then kind of the cultural emphasis on that as well. I love the sauna culture and getting to go outside and jump in the sea. So I feel like it's a really calm and nice place to live.
Yeah, the natural part is also something that amazed me a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So I'll move on to the second questions. Because as an international students, I believe there are something that we need to adapt into a new society, right? So maybe Rita can go first. Like, what was the biggest obstacles when adapting to Finnish life, and also how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I had to overcome is definitely the winter.
Yeah.
Well, I am from a tropical island in the south of China, so winter is definitely something that I need to get used to the most. The cold itself is manageable because it's very warm indoors and you just have to dress properly and not stay outside for too long. What is what's harder is the lack of daylight and sunshine. And I wouldn't say that I fully overcome it because I feel like even people who've lived here their whole life still struggle with it. And for me, it's more about adapting and just trying to make the best out of winter, such as, well, taking vitamin D and keeping active socially and physically, do a lot of winter sports, and also just to make plans with friends and say yes to things. And for me, it's really more about like creating little moments in the winter that make a winter day to look forward to. Yes.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And how about Annika?
Yeah, I would say definitely my greatest challenge has been, or at first it was making Finnish friends and adapting to the Finnish communication style. I think, especially the culture where I come from, people are super warm and small talk is a really big thing. And I've come to learn small talk is not really a thing here. And that Finnish people can also be very blunt and it can be kind of hard at first to kind of break down the wall with them. But then I've learned that over time, you just kind of need to adapt to their communication style. And I feel like just kind of understanding my expectations of not expecting these people to immediately adapt to the culture I come from, where if they're not big on small talk, that's something that I've just come to kind of understand and accept. And it has been successful. So over time, I have managed to make Finnish friends, which has been really nice. So I think you just kind of have to be understanding and more adaptive at first.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for your advice. Yes, I believe that is all the international students will very agree with the weather and also how the society that you need to like really join it. How hard is it? But yes, we can always find the solutions of it. Yeah, okay. So I have like a little small questions for both of you in the end. Like, if I ask you to have maybe 3 keywords to describe your experience at the University of Helsinki, which keywords will you choose to represent?
Should I start?
Yeah, thank you.
I guess the keywords for me, the first one is probably just like supportiveness, because the peers and the fellow students here are just so lovely. And everyone who works there, no matter the teaching stuff, the admin stuff, are all very, very incredibly kind. And they really, really want to what's best for the students and are genuinely on the student side. And the second keyword will be probably freedom, because we have a lot of freedom in making our own study plans and just choosing what do we want to study based on our interest and focus, which is something that is really, really nice. And I can take classes from even other universities and from other disciplinary, which can allow me to explore and like dive into my interests. And the third one is probably inclusivity. And I really appreciate just how much equality, safe space, and zero tolerance for bullying are very, very stressed here in our everyday students' life. And also just in social society and in workplaces in general. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rita. Okay, how about Annika?
Yeah, I would definitely say collaborative is the first word that comes to mind. So I know at least in my program, we have group work in pretty much every class as opposed to an individual major assignment. So I feel like overall there's a very strong sense of community and there's a lot of emphasis put on getting people together. And then the second word that I would choose would be similar to what Rita said. So I would say openness is a very big thing. So there's a lot of flexibility, there's a lot of inclusivity, and I think overall it's just a very kind of open culture that gives you a lot of freedom to kind of explore your interests and meet all kinds of different people. And then I would say the third word is definitely friendly. So I feel like the university does a really good job being very welcoming at first. I feel like I remember especially the check-in event during orientation, I was overwhelmed by how many people there were helping. And just overall, I feel like with all of the international student events that are put on, it's just kind of very easy to feel welcomed and it helps kind of prevent those feelings of being lonely.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for sharing. I also agree with two of you, the supportive, the freedom, inclusivities, and collaboration. Like all of this, we have experience in our first year and now in our second years, right? Okay, so thank you. Thank you, Rita, and thank you, Annika, for joining us today, for sharing with us about the housing, student life, and international student experience. So I believe the participants can gain more insights into what is it like as a student in the University of Helsinki. Yeah, thank you so much. And we have go through like all the agenda for today. And I just want to mention that there are still upcoming webinar. For example, we have the first one here, Social Data Science Open Day. This one is also held by University of Helsinki. And this one is happened right after this webinar. So it's like at 3:30 Finnish time. Yeah, so if you are interested in the social data science, you are feel free to jump in this webinar right after our webinar. And there's also the second one is held by Study in Finland. This one is also a webinar for the applicants in Finland, and it will focus on the topic included the student resident permit by the Finnish immigrant Immigration Service. And for this one, you need to register beforehand. So we also have the QR code and the link here for you. Yeah, so feel free, if you are interested, please take a look at this webinar afterwards. And our webinar have come to the end, and I want to say that if you have any further questions, our Q&A sections will be here. And if you have any further questions regarding to the admissions, you can contact the admission service by filling in the contact form. And if you have questions about like the student life, we have the student chat platform that you can choose a specific field or a program itself that you can ask questions directly there. Yep, okay. So I want to mention again that this webinar is recording. So all the registrants in the couple of days, you will receive an email with a link to the recording for today, and also the presentations with all the links that mentions during this webinar. Yep. So now, after all of this, I would like to start a poll. Yes, so I think the poll you can see directly on the screen. So after all of this, like admission process, the reality financials, resident permits, and exciting like student life in Helsinki, I'm wondering like how are you feeling right now? So excited? Okay, I see a lot of people are excited right now. Thank you so much. Inspiring, or you feel calm, or a little bit nervous, anxious about all the documents you are going to collect, or a little bit overwhelming? Yeah, you can share your answer by joining the poll on the screen. Yep, okay, so I can say that most people feel excited right now. We are happy to see that, and also inspiring. And for the nervous people or overwhelmed people, no worries at all. You can just like being step by step, and you will go to the aim in front of you. Yeah, okay, so we will end this poll right now and have the result with us. Yep. And in the end of this webinar, I want to mention again the applicant period. It starts from January 2nd to 16, 2026. But as Yanni mentioned, apply rather early than late. Yeah. So hopefully the webinar is helpful for everyone and lots of success for those who will apply in the upcoming year. Yes. Thank you so much for joining our webinar, and thank you. Bye-bye.